My name is Melanie, and at 28 years old, I am the forgotten middle child, sandwiched between my brilliant older sister Amanda and my charming younger brother Jason. While Amanda became a high-powered corporate lawyer, I chose a modest accounting career. The difference in how our parents treated us was always obvious, but nothing prepared me for what happened at her graduation. My father made millions in real estate, and they spared no expense for their favorite daughter. If you're watching this, please let me know where you're tuning in from, hit like and subscribe, and stick around to see how life can change in unexpected ways. Growing up in the Wilson family meant living in a sprawling 5-bedroom house in an upscale neighborhood with a swimming pool in the backyard and luxury cars in the driveway. My father Thomas built his fortune through strategic real estate investments, turning a small inheritance into a thriving empire that made us one of the wealthiest families in our city. At 58, he still maintained the commanding presence that helped him close million-dollar deals with salt and pepper hair that only added to his authoritative image. My mother Diane, now 56, came from old money, but had married into new wealth with my father. She was the quintessential social climber who served as president of 3 different charity boards and judged everyone based on appearances. Her perfectly highlighted blonde hair never had a strand out of place, and she made sure her social calendar was always filled with the right events and the right people. Then there was Amanda, my older sister by 4 years. At 32, she embodied everything my parents valued. She graduated top of her class from Harvard Law School, had the perfect figure that never required dieting, and recently became engaged to Tyler, an investment banker from another wealthy family. With her long blonde hair, green eyes, and flawless skin, she looked like she belonged on magazine covers rather than in courtrooms, though she excelled there too. My younger brother Jason, 24, was the baby of the family who could charm his way out of any trouble. He had our father's business acumen and our mother's social skills, a combination that made him the perfect heir to the family business, despite his tendency to party more than he worked. His boyish good looks and easy smile meant he was forgiven for things that would have earned Amanda or me serious consequences. And then there was me, stuck in the middle. I worked hard through school, maintained a solid B+ average, and graduated with an accounting degree from State University. Not prestigious enough for my parents to brag about at their country club, but practical enough to build a stable career. I had our father's analytical mind, but lacked Amanda's academic brilliance or Jason's natural charisma. At 5'6", with brown hair and brown eyes, I was always described as cute rather than beautiful like Amanda or handsome like Jason. The favoritism toward Amanda began early and was persistent. On her 16th birthday, she received a brand new BMW convertible with a big red bow in the driveway. For my 16th, I got driving lessons and access to the old family sedan when no one else needed it. When Amanda made honor roll, our parents took the entire family to a 5-star restaurant to celebrate. When I made honor roll for 3 consecutive semesters, my achievement was acknowledged with a quick good job at the dinner table, before conversation moved back to Amanda's college applications. Even family vacations revolved around Amanda's schedule. We went to Paris during her spring break because she was studying French. We spent a summer in Italy because she was interested in Renaissance art. My interest in photography led to exactly 0 family trips, and the camera I received for my 15th birthday was a budget model, while Amanda's hobbies were funded without question. Through it all, my best friend Grace kept me sane. We met in 3rd grade when she defended me against bullies, and she remained my emotional anchor through the years of living in Amanda's shadow. While my parents attended every one of Amanda's debate tournaments, Grace was the one who came to my accounting club competitions and celebrated my small victories. "Your parents don't define your worth, Mel," Grace would remind me over coffee when I felt particularly invisible. "You're building something real on your own terms." And I was trying. After college, I secured a position at a respected accounting firm downtown. I saved diligently and eventually put a down payment on a small but comfortable 1-bedroom apartment about 20 minutes from the city center. It wasn't much compared to the luxury condo Amanda lived in after graduation, the one our parents had paid 60% of the down payment for, but it was mine. I had earned it without their help, which gave me a sense of pride they couldn't diminish no matter how much they compared me to Amanda. When Amanda graduated from law school, our parents announced they would be throwing her a graduation party that would, in my mother's words, be talked about for years to come. The implied message was clear: Amanda's achievements were exceptional and deserved exceptional recognition. I tried not to think about my own law school graduation party 3 years earlier, a modest dinner at a local restaurant where my mother spent most of the evening on the phone coordinating details for a charity gala. As the invitations went out for Amanda's graduation extravaganza, I couldn't help but feel that familiar ache of being less than, of being the daughter who was tolerated rather than celebrated. But I pushed those feelings aside and offered to help with the preparations, hoping that for once my efforts would be seen and appreciated. Little did I know that this party would become a turning point in our family's story, one that would expose truths we had all been avoiding for years. The day of Amanda's graduation party arrived with perfect weather, almost as if even the skies knew better than to disappoint my parents' golden child. Our family's mansion had been transformed for the occasion, with caterers, bartenders, and a string quartet setting up in the expansive backyard. White roses, Amanda's favorite flowers, adorned every surface, their perfume hanging heavy in the June air. I arrived early as promised to help with last-minute preparations, wearing a navy blue dress I had splurged on for the occasion. My mother greeted me with a critical once-over. "You look nice, dear, though that dress does nothing for your figure. Have you considered trying intermittent fasting? It did wonders for my friend Susan's daughter." "The dress is new, Mom," I replied, swallowing my hurt. "I thought the color would be perfect for the party." "Yes, well, help the florist finish the centerpieces, would you? Amanda will be arriving with Tyler in an hour, and everything needs to be perfect." By 6 o'clock, the mansion was filled with over 100 guests. Father's business associates, mother's social circle, extended family, and Amanda's colleagues and friends from law school mingled in the backyard, sipping champagne and sampling gourmet hors d'oeuvres. Amanda made her entrance on Tyler's arm, looking radiant in a white designer dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. Tyler, tall and classically handsome in his tailored suit, played the part of devoted fiancé perfectly, his hand never leaving the small of her back as they made their rounds greeting guests. Melanie, Amanda. Air kissed both my cheeks when they reached me, careful not to smudge her lipstick. "So glad you could make it. That dress is very practical." "Congratulations on graduating," I said sincerely, because despite everything, I was proud of her accomplishments. "You worked hard for this." "I did, didn't I?" She laughed, tossing her perfect hair. "Though Daddy says hard work only gets you so far." The Wilson name opened quite a few doors at the firm. Before I could respond, she and Tyler were pulled away by Father's business partner William and his wife Sophia, who were eager to discuss some upcoming charity auction. I stood alone until Grace arrived, fashionably late as always, but a welcome sight in her emerald green dress and contagious smile. "Sorry I'm late," she hugged me tightly. "Traffic was a nightmare. So how bad is it so far?" On a scale of 1 to "I need therapy," about a 7, but the night is young, Grace linked her arm through mine. "Point me to the bar, and then give me the rundown on who to avoid." "Aunt Patricia by the fountain. She asked me 3 times already when I'm getting married, then suggested my biological clock is ticking so loud it's keeping the neighbors awake." Grace winced. "Noted. Anyone else?" "My mother's entire book club is here. They all have sons they'd love to introduce me to, provided I lose 20 pounds first." We made our way to the bar, where the bartender mixed us both strong gin and tonics. I needed the liquid courage for what I knew was coming: my father's speech. As if on cue, the string quartet stopped playing and my father clinked a spoon against his champagne flute, calling for everyone's attention. The crowd hushed as he stood on the temporary stage set up for the occasion. "Friends, family, esteemed colleagues," his voice boomed across the yard. "Today we celebrate an extraordinary achievement by an extraordinary young woman, my daughter Amanda." He spoke for 10 minutes about Amanda's brilliance, her dedication, her perfect record at Harvard Law. He told anecdotes about her childhood precociousness, her teenage achievements, her adult accomplishments. Not once did he mention my name or Jason's, as if Amanda were an only child who had sprung fully formed from my parents' combined genetic excellence. And now, he concluded, her mother and I would like to present Amanda with a special gift to mark this momentous occasion. My mother joined him on stage carrying a small gift box wrapped in silver paper. Amanda was invited up, her face a perfect mask of surprise and modesty that I knew she had practiced in the mirror. Amanda, my father continued, you have exceeded every expectation we ever had. You have made the Wilson name proud, and so your mother and I want to give you something that symbolizes our faith in your future. My mother handed Amanda the small box. With perfectly manicured fingers, Amanda unwrapped it, slowly building dramatic tension. When she opened it, she gasped theatrically, pulling out a set of keys. These, my father announced proudly, are the keys to your new home in Lakeview Heights. The crowd erupted in gasps and applause. Lakeview Heights was the most exclusive neighborhood in the city, where homes started at well over $1 million. We had it built specifically for you, my mother added, her voice thick with emotion. 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms, a home office with a view of the lake, and room for our future grandchildren. A projection screen lowered from the party tent's ceiling, and photos of a stunning modern mansion appeared, each new image drawing appreciative murmurs from the crowd. The house was at least 5,000 square feet with floor-to-ceiling windows, a wraparound deck, and an infinity pool overlooking the lake. The value, my father couldn't resist adding, is approximately $1.2 million. Only the best for our Amanda. The room spun slightly as I tried to process what was happening. $1.2 million. For a graduation present. I thought back to my own law school graduation 3 years ago. My parents had given me a $500 gift card to a department store and taken me to dinner at a mid-range steakhouse. The contrast was so stark, so blatant, that I couldn't even pretend it wasn't intentional. Are you okay? Grace whispered, gripping my arm tightly. I need a minute, I muttered, making my way through the crowd toward the house. I locked myself in the downstairs bathroom, gripping the marble countertop as I tried to steady my breathing. A soft knock on the door startled me. Mel, it's me, Grace's concerned voice came through. I let her in, then locked the door again behind her. That was, she started searching for words. Completely on brand for my family, I finished for her. I was going to say disgusting. $1.2 million for a graduation gift, while you got what again? $500. I laughed hollowly. And dinner at Outback Steakhouse. Grace pulled me into a hug. It's not fair, Mel. Life isn't fair, I replied, the familiar mantra I'd been telling myself since childhood. Especially not in the Wilson family. You know what, screw them, Grace said fiercely. You built your life without their help. Your apartment, your career, those are yours. Amanda will never know what that feels like. I nodded, reapplying my lipstick and fixing my mascara that had smudged slightly. You're right. I just need to get through this night smile for the photos, and then I can go home. When we returned to the party, Amanda was showing off a virtual tour of the house on her iPad to a circle of admirers. She spotted me and waved me over enthusiastically. Melanie, come see my new house. The master closet is bigger than your entire apartment. And just like that, I knew this night was far from over. The worst was yet to come, and I would have to face it with the same forced smile I'd worn my entire life in Amanda's shadow. 1 week after Amanda's extravagant graduation party, I received a text message from my mother. Family dinner tonight, 7 p.m. Your father and I have something special for you. My heart gave a hopeful flutter before I could stop it. Maybe they had reflected on the outrageous disparity between Amanda's graduation gift and mine. Maybe they were trying to make amends in some small way. I knew it wouldn't be $1 million house, but perhaps they had finally recognized how hurtful their favoritism had been. I spent extra time getting ready that evening, choosing a flattering burgundy dress and styling my hair in loose waves. I even applied makeup more carefully than usual, a small act of armor against whatever the night might bring. When I arrived at my parents' home, the dining room was set for a formal dinner with the good china and crystal glasses. Amanda and Tyler were already seated along with Jason, who had his phone out under the table, clearly texting someone more interesting than his family. "Melanie, darling, right on time." My mother kissed the air near my cheek, careful not to transfer her lipstick. "Sit, sit. Martha has prepared your favorite roast chicken." It wasn't my favorite, it was Amanda's, but I said nothing as I took my seat across from my sister. She gave me a smug smile which immediately set off warning bells in my head. Whatever was coming, Amanda already knew about it. Through the appetizer course of shrimp cocktail, my father dominated the conversation with stories about his latest real estate acquisition. During the main course, Amanda and Tyler shared details about their wedding planning with my mother, interjecting suggestions about venues and flower arrangements. Jason occasionally looked up from his phone to make a sarcastic comment that everyone laughed at appreciatively. No one asked me a single question about my life or work. As Martha cleared the dinner plates and brought out dessert, a rich chocolate mousse that actually was my favorite, my father cleared his throat importantly. "Melanie," he began, "your mother and I have been thinking. We've noticed how hard you've been working," my mother added, though I doubted she could name my position or company if asked directly. "And after Amanda's graduation celebration, we wanted to do something special for you too," my father continued. Amanda was practically bouncing in her seat with anticipation, while Tyler looked vaguely uncomfortable. Jason had finally put his phone down, watching the scene unfold with undisguised amusement. My father nodded to my mother, who reached beside her chair and produced a gift bag with tissue paper sprouting from the top. She handed it to me across the table with a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We hope you'll appreciate what this represents," she said cryptically. With trembling hands, I removed the tissue paper and pulled out a folder with the logo of Elite Fitness, embossed on the front, one of the most expensive gyms in the city. Inside was a certificate for a 1-year premium membership, including 24 sessions with a personal trainer. The silence around the table was deafening as I stared at the gift, my brain struggling to process what was happening. "It's a gym membership," I finally said, my voice sounding distant to my own ears. "Not just any gym membership," my mother corrected eagerly. "The most exclusive fitness club in the city. Celebrities train there, and we've arranged for you to work with Tiago, their top personal trainer. He usually has a 2-year waiting list." "I don't understand," I said slowly, looking up at their expectant faces. "This is my special gift." "Well, yes," my father replied, suddenly defensive. "It's quite valuable, actually. The package costs nearly $8,000. $8,000 compared to $1.2 million. The math wasn't difficult. "We thought it would be helpful for you," my mother added, her voice taking on that sugary tone she used when delivering insults disguised as concern. "You have such a pretty face, Melanie. If only you'd take care of yourself like Amanda does." Amanda had the decency to look down at her plate, though I could see the corner of her mouth twitching upward. "It's an investment in your future," my father added in his business voice. "Let's be honest, Melanie, you'll never get promoted looking like that. First impressions matter in business." Jason snorted quickly, disguising it as a cough when I shot him a glare. "What your father means," my mother rushed to clarify, "is that we want you to be the best version of yourself. Amanda has her fitness routine and she looks amazing for it." She gestured toward my sister, who straightened her already perfect posture. "We just want the same confidence for you." "I see," I said quietly, processing not just the insult of the gift, but the casual cruelty with which it was delivered. "So Amanda gets a $1.2 million house, and I get a gym membership because you think I'm fat." "Don't be dramatic, Melanie," my mother sighed. "This isn't about Amanda. This is about you and your health." "My health?" I repeated flatly. "There's nothing wrong with my health." "Well, the doctor did mention your cholesterol was borderline at your last physical," my mother said, conveniently forgetting that she shouldn't have access to my private medical information. And you've put on weight since college. We're concerned. I'm a size 10, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. That's literally the average size for American women. Average isn't good enough for a Wilson, my father replied sharply. And there it was. The truth I'd known my entire life, but that had never been stated so bluntly. Average wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough. Not compared to Amanda, who was extraordinary in their eyes. You could be so pretty if you just tried a little harder. Amanda finally spoke, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. I'd be happy to share my workout routine with you. It's only 45 minutes every morning at 5 a.m. plus evening cardio. Tyler shifted uncomfortably in his seat. Amanda, maybe this isn't the time. I'm just trying to help my sister, she replied innocently. 28 years of suppressed hurt and anger suddenly boiled over inside me. Like you helped me when you told Bryce Phillips I had a crush on him in 9th grade, so he asked me out as a joke. Or like you helped me when you convinced Dad not to let me use the car for prom because you claimed I was going to a party afterwards, so I missed the whole dance. Or maybe like you helped me by telling my college roommate about my anxiety medication. Amanda's face flushed. That was years ago, Melanie. Don't be so sensitive. Sensitive? I laughed incredulously. You get a mansion for graduating, and I get a gym membership with a side of body shaming. And I'm being sensitive for noticing the difference. The situations are completely different, my father interjected. Amanda graduated from Harvard Law. You got an accounting degree from State. I worked just as hard for my degree. I stood up my dessert untouched. I put myself through school with scholarships and part-time jobs. Amanda never worked a day during college because you paid for everything. Now you're just being jealous, my mother sniffed dismissively. Honestly, Melanie, this lack of gratitude is exactly why we worry about your attitude. No one likes a bitter person. Gratitude, I was nearly shouting now. You want me to be grateful that you've made it abundantly clear yet again that I'm the disappointing middle child. That nothing I do will ever measure up to Amanda. That you think so little of me, that you believe my greatest value would come from losing weight. You're overreacting, my father said coldly. If you can't appreciate our gift and concern, perhaps you should leave until you can behave more appropriately. I looked around the table. My mother's disapproving frown. My father's cold anger. Amanda's smug superiority. Jason's uncomfortable fascination with the family drama. And Tyler, the only one who seemed genuinely embarrassed by the whole situation. Gladly, I said, grabbing my purse. And you can keep your gym membership. I don't need your backhanded gifts or your conditional love. I walked out of the dining room with as much dignity as I could muster, ignored my mother's calls to come back and discuss this rationally, and drove home with tears streaming down my face. Back in my apartment, I turned off my phone after seeing 12 missed calls from my mother, 3 from my father, and a series of texts from Jason saying simply, "Wow, epic exit, respect." I curled up on my couch and finally let myself cry properly. Deep, racking sobs that came from a lifetime of being second best, of never measuring up, of being valued for all the wrong things. When the doorbell rang around 11 p.m., I knew without checking that it would be Grace. I had sent her a brief text about what happened before turning off my phone. She came bearing ice cream and wine, the universal cure for emotional trauma. As I poured out the whole humiliating story, she listened without interrupting, her expression growing increasingly outraged. "That's it," she declared when I finished. "You're done with them, at least for a while. You need space to heal from this toxic dynamic." "They're still my family," I said weakly. "Family doesn't treat each other this way," Grace insisted. "Take a break. Focus on yourself. Show them they can't treat you like this anymore." As the night wore on and the wine bottle emptied, I made a decision. Grace was right. I needed time away from my family's toxic expectations and constant comparisons. I would take a break from family dinners, from being the dutiful daughter who accepted scraps of affection, while Amanda feasted on their adoration. Little did I know that this decision would set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just my relationship with my family, but the very foundation of our family itself. For one blissful month, I maintained minimal contact with my family. I sent my mother brief texts assuring her I was alive, but declining her increasingly insistent invitations to Sunday dinners. I ignored my father's emails about putting this unfortunate misunderstanding behind us, without an actual apology. I muted the family group chat where Amanda continued to post photos of her new house renovations and wedding planning progress. Instead, I focused on myself. I started therapy with a counselor Grace recommended, who specialized in family dynamics. I joined a book club that met Wednesday evenings, making new friends outside my usual circle. I poured energy into a complex auditing project at work that earned me recognition from senior partners. For the first time in years, I wasn't defining myself in relation to Amanda or measuring my life against my parents' impossible standards. The unexpected knock on my apartment door came on a rainy Tuesday evening. When I peered through the peephole and saw Jason's rain-soaked figure, my first instinct was irritation at the interruption of my family-free bubble. But something about his hunched shoulders and worried expression made me open the door. "Jason, what are you doing here?" He stepped inside, shaking water from his hair. "Can I crash here tonight? I'll explain everything, but I need a drink first." I hesitated only briefly before grabbing 2 beers from my refrigerator. Whatever had brought Jason to my door on a weeknight without calling first had to be serious. Despite our differences, he was still my brother. So, I handed him a beer and sat on the opposite end of my small couch. "What's going on?" Jason took a long pull from the bottle before answering. "It's about Amanda." "I don't want to hear about Amanda's house or her wedding or anything else about her perfect life," I said firmly. "Her life isn't perfect." Jason laughed bitterly. "Not even close." Something in his tone made me pause. "What do you mean?" "Amanda's in trouble, Mel. Serious trouble." He leaned forward, lowering his voice as if someone might overhear. "She has a gambling problem." I nearly choked on my beer. "A what?" "A gambling problem. She's been hiding it for years. Started in law school with poker nights, then online gambling, then casinos whenever she traveled for work." "But that doesn't make sense," I argued. "Amanda is the responsible one, the perfect one. She plans everything, controls everything." "That's what everyone thinks." Jason nodded. "That's what she wanted everyone to think. But behind closed doors, she's a mess. The adrenaline rush of high-stakes gambling is the only thing that makes her feel alive," she told me. I sat back trying to reconcile this information with the sister I thought I knew. "How bad is it?" Jason ran a hand through his still damp hair. "Bad. Really bad. She took out loans against the new house without telling Tyler or our parents. Loans, but they just gave her that house a month ago." "Exactly. And she's already leveraged it to pay gambling debts. But then," he trailed off looking genuinely scared. "Then what, Jason?" "Then she lost the house. The actual house. In a poker game." My mind struggled to comprehend what he was saying. "How do you lose a house in a poker game?" "When you're playing with dangerous people who accept property deeds as collateral," Jason explained grimly. "She put up the house thinking she had a winning hand. She didn't." Does Tyler know, or Mom and Dad?" Jason shook his head. "No one knows except me and now you. She called me crying last night, totally panicking. These people are giving her 2 weeks to move out or pay them $2 million. $2 million? I gasped. "The house is only worth $1.2 million. With interest and penalties they're adding, apparently. These aren't nice people, Mel. They're connected to some scary organizations." I took a moment to process this bombshell. Amanda perfect. Amanda had a gambling addiction so severe she had gambled away $1 million house within a month of receiving it. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked finally. "Because you're good with money," Jason said simply. "You're an accountant. You understand finances better than anyone in the family. Amanda needs help, and she's too ashamed to ask our parents." So she sent you to ask me after everything. She didn't send me, Jason admitted. She'd kill me if she knew I was here. But she's my sister and she's in trouble and I didn't know what else to do. I paced my small living room, emotions warring within me. Part of me felt a vindictive satisfaction that Amanda's perfect facade had finally cracked. Another part worried about what these dangerous people might do if they didn't get their money. And somewhere deeper, a part of me still cared about my sister despite everything. Will you at least talk to her? Jason pleaded. Just hear her out. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet Amanda the next day at a quiet cafe far from both our workplaces. When she arrived, I barely recognized her. Gone was the polished, confident woman who dominated every room. This Amanda had dark circles under her eyes, poorly concealed by makeup-bitten nails, and a jumpiness that made her flinch at every loud noise. "Thank you for coming," she said quietly, sliding into the booth across from me. "I assume Jason told you that you gambled away $1 million house within a month of getting it." "Yeah, he mentioned it." She winced at my bluntness but didn't deny it. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I thought I could win back what I'd already lost. I was so sure about that hand." "How long, Amanda?" I asked. "How long have you been gambling?" She stared into her untouched coffee. "Since second year of law school." The pressure was so intense and gambling was the only thing that made it stop. Just for a little while. The rush when you win, the complete focus when you're playing. Nothing else exists in those moments. Not even consequences, apparently. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. "I know you hate me, and you have every right to. I've been terrible to you our whole lives. But I don't know who else to turn to. Mom and Dad, they can't know about this. It would destroy them." "It would destroy their image of you," I corrected. "There's a difference. Please, Melanie." She reached across the table, trying to take my hand. I pulled away. "I need help. I'm scared. These people, they're not kidding around. One of them came to my office yesterday just to show me he knew where I work." Despite my resentment, I felt a chill at her words. "Have you considered telling Tyler he's your fiancé? He should know what he's getting into." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. "He'll leave me. His family is all about reputation and respectability. A gambling addict wife with dangerous debts, he'd be gone in a heartbeat." "So what exactly do you want from me?" I asked, keeping my voice level. "I don't know," she admitted. "Advice? Help figuring out what to do, alone." I laughed incredulously. "Alone, with my modest accounting salary, I couldn't loan you enough to make a dent in $2 million. I know, she said hastily. "That was stupid. I'm not thinking straight. I haven't slept in days." I studied my sister's haggard face, seeing genuine fear there. For the first time in our lives, Amanda was vulnerable, her carefully constructed perfect image shattered. And despite years of hurt, I couldn't completely harden my heart. "Have you considered that our parents need to know that this has gone beyond something you can handle privately?" "They'll disown me," she whispered. "Maybe. Or maybe they'll help you. They've certainly never hesitated to help you before." Amanda looked up, a flash of the old defensiveness crossing her face. "Is that what this is about? Getting back at me for how they've treated you?" "No," I said firmly. "This is about you having a serious addiction that has put you in danger. This is about you needing real help, not just a financial bailout." As our conversation continued, Amanda gradually revealed the full extent of her gambling addiction. How she'd maintained a perfect facade while falling apart inside. How she'd started lying to everyone in her life about where she was going, what she was doing, how much she was spending. How the rush of gambling was the only thing that quieted the anxiety that came from constantly trying to live up to our parents' impossible expectations. "I was never allowed to fail," she said softly. "Not once. Do you know what that's like? To know that one mistake, one wrong step, would shatter everything." And in that moment, I saw my sister clearly for perhaps the first time. The golden child status I had envied my entire life had been its own kind of prison, While I was dismissed and overlooked, Amanda was scrutinized and expected to be flawless. Different types of damage, but damage nonetheless. "We need to tell Mom and Dad," I said finally. "And you need professional help for the gambling. Those are my conditions for helping you figure this out." Amanda looked terrified, but nodded slowly. "Will you come with me when I tell them?" Despite everything, I found myself agreeing. Not for Amanda's sake, not even for my parents, but because somewhere in this mess was an opportunity for our broken family to finally face some hard truths. The family meeting at our parents' house was set for Saturday afternoon. I arrived early partly to gather my thoughts and partly to make sure Amanda didn't lose her nerve and back out. She arrived with Tyler having decided he deserved to know the truth before facing our parents together. The look on Tyler's face told me everything I needed to know about how that conversation had gone. He was pale, shell-shocked, his usual confident demeanor replaced by confusion and hurt. But he was there, standing by Amanda's side, which said something about his character that I hadn't expected. My parents welcomed us into the formal living room, clearly confused by the impromptu family gathering. My mother had prepared a cheese plate and opened wine, attempting to give the meeting a casual air despite the obvious tension. "What's this about?" my father asked impatiently after we had settled in the living room. "I had to cancel a golf game for this mysterious meeting." Amanda looked at me, panic in her eyes. I nodded encouragingly, and she took a deep breath. "Mom, Dad," she began, her voice trembling. "I have something to tell you. Something bad." My mother immediately looked at Tyler. "You're not breaking the engagement, are you? All the deposits are non-refundable." "No, Mrs. Wilson, that's not it," Tyler said quietly. "I have a gambling problem." Amanda blurted out the words hanging in the silent room. "I've had it for years. And I've lost the house you gave me." The silence that followed was absolute. My father's face went from confusion to disbelief to fury in the span of seconds. "What do you mean, lost the house?" he finally demanded. Over the next 30 minutes, Amanda confessed everything, often through tears. The years of secret gambling, the escalating bets, the loans against the house, the high-stakes poker game where she'd put the house deed up as collateral and lost, the dangerous people now demanding $2 million or immediate vacancy. My father's face grew redder with each revelation, while my mother collapsed into silent tears. When Amanda finally finished, my father stood up abruptly. "I don't believe this," he said coldly. "The daughter I raised would never be so irresponsible, so deceitful, so utterly foolish." "Thomas," my mother whispered, but he cut her off with a gesture. "Do you have any idea what this will do to our reputation?" he demanded. "The Wilson name is associated with success, with excellence, not with gambling debts and loan sharks." "I'm sorry," Amanda sobbed. "I tried to stop so many times. I couldn't." "Couldn't or wouldn't," my father snapped. "This isn't a disease, Amanda. This is a choice. A series of terrible choices that you made with full awareness of the consequences." "That's not true," I interjected, surprising myself. "Gambling addiction is a recognized disorder. It changes brain chemistry just like alcohol or drug addiction." My father turned his glare on me. "Stay out of this, Melanie. This doesn't concern you." "Actually, it does." I stood up, matching his stance. "Amanda came to me for help. And while I have every reason to walk away after how this family has treated me, I'm here because I believe we need to face this together." "How this family has treated you," my father repeated incredulously. "We've given you everything." "You've given Amanda everything," I corrected him. "You gave me conditional love based on how well I could measure up to your golden child, which was never enough." "This isn't about your petty jealousy." He dismissed me. "No, it's about the fact that your favorite daughter is in serious trouble," I said firmly. "And instead of figuring out how to help her, you're worried about your reputation." My mother finally spoke up. "Thomas, please sit down. Shouting isn't going to solve anything." To my surprise, he complied, though the anger still radiated from him in palpable waves. "What exactly do these people want?" my mother asked Amanda. her voice shaking slightly. $2 million? Or they take possession of the house immediately, Amanda replied, and they've made it clear they'll hurt me if I don't comply. My father's anger seemed to falter at this. Whatever his disappointment, the threat of physical harm to his daughter clearly disturbed him. You should go to the police, he said less harshly. I can't, Amanda shook her head. The poker game wasn't exactly legal. I'd be implicating myself in criminal activity. So what do you suggest? My father demanded. That I just write a check for $2 million to bail you out of your bad decisions. No, I interjected before Amanda could respond. That wouldn't solve the underlying problem. All eyes turned to me. Taking a deep breath, I outlined the plan I'd been developing since my conversation with Amanda. First, Amanda needs professional treatment for gambling addiction. There's a respected residential program that has space available starting next week. Second, we need to deal with these dangerous creditors. I've researched legal options, and with the right approach, we might be able to negotiate the debt down substantially. Third, we need to establish financial guardrails for Amanda to prevent this from happening again. And how do you suggest we pay for all this? My father asked, though his tone had shifted from angry to evaluative, the businessman in him responding to a structured approach. You have options, I replied calmly. Liquidating certain investments would be the cleanest approach. I've reviewed your publicly available holdings and identified several that could be sold without significant tax implications. My father's eyebrows rose slightly. You've been researching my investment portfolio. I'm an accountant, Dad. It's what I do. For the first time in my memory, my father looked at me with something approaching respect. Go on. For the next hour, I walked my family through the financial and legal strategy I'd developed. As an accountant specializing in audit and compliance, I had professional knowledge that suddenly had real value in this crisis. Tyler, whose family had connections in banking, offered additional insights about restructuring the debt. Throughout the discussion, my mother remained unusually quiet, watching the family dynamics shift before her eyes, as I took the lead in managing a crisis that threatened to destroy everything they valued. There's something else we need to address, I said when we had covered the immediate financial concerns. How we got here in the first place. What do you mean? My mother asked cautiously. I mean the family dynamics that contributed to this situation, the pressure on Amanda to be perfect, the different standards for each of us, the conditional love based on achievement rather than character. That's not fair, my father began to protest, but Amanda interrupted him. She's right, Dad, Amanda said softly. I started gambling because it was the only time I felt free from the pressure of being your perfect daughter. I was so terrified of disappointing you that I created this whole secret life where I could fail without you knowing. My mother's face crumpled as the implication of Amanda's words sank in. We only wanted what was best for you, she whispered. Did you? I asked gently. Or did you want what would reflect best on you? The question hung in the air, uncomfortable but necessary. I think, Tyler spoke up unexpectedly, that if we're going to move forward from this, everyone needs to be honest about their part in it, including Amanda taking full responsibility for her choices, but also examining the family patterns that might have contributed. I gave Tyler an appreciative nod, surprised by his insight and willingness to speak up in this difficult family moment. My father sat in silence for several long moments, his expression unreadable. Finally, he looked at Amanda. You will enter this treatment program. You will follow whatever financial restrictions Melanie and I establish, and you will never ever gamble again. Are we clear? Amanda nodded solemnly. And you, he turned to me, will oversee the financial recovery plan. I'll compensate you properly for your professional services. I don't want your money, Dad, I said firmly. I want your respect. I want to be valued for who I am, not measured against some impossible standard. For the first time in my life, I saw uncertainty in my father's eyes, as if he was truly seeing me for the first time. We have a lot to discuss as a family, he finally said. But first, let's deal with the immediate crisis. As we ended the meeting with concrete next steps for handling Amanda's gambling debts and treatment, I realized that this family crisis had shifted something fundamental in our dynamics. For the first time, my financial expertise and level-headed approach were being recognized as valuable. For the first time, Amanda's perfect image had cracked, revealing her human struggles. And for the first time, my parents were being forced to confront the consequences of their parenting choices. It wasn't a full resolution, not by a long shot, but it was a beginning, a crack in the foundation of our dysfunctional family that might, with careful tending, allow something healthier to grow. 3 months after the family meeting that had changed everything, I sat in my father's home office reviewing the quarterly financial reports I had prepared. Amanda was 2 months into her gambling addiction treatment program with promising progress according to her counselors. The dangerous creditors had been paid off with a negotiated settlement of $1.5 million, still an astronomical sum, but less than their original demand. And my parents were slowly and awkwardly attempting to rebuild their relationships with both their daughters on more honest terms. "These numbers look good," my father said, reviewing the spreadsheet I had created to track the family's recovery from the financial hit. "We'll recoup most of the losses within 18 months if the market holds steady." "That's assuming no major economic downturns," I cautioned. "But yes, the investment restructuring is working as planned." My father nodded, then set the papers aside and looked at me directly. Something he had been doing more frequently in recent months. "Your mother and I have been attending those family therapy sessions you recommended." This was news to me. "Really? I thought you said therapy was for people who couldn't solve their own problems." A faint smile crossed his face. "I've had to reconsider many of my opinions lately." "How is it going?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Uncomfortable," he admitted. "But necessary, I think. We've been discussing our parenting approaches." "You mean your blatant favoritism toward Amanda and unrealistic expectations of all of us?" I said, still direct, but without the bitter edge that would have colored such a statement months ago. "Yes, that." He had the grace to look discomfited. "The therapist suggested we might have put too much emphasis on external achievements and not enough on character development or emotional well-being." "You don't say," I murmured, but without real heat. We sat in silence for a moment, the ticking of the antique clock on his bookshelf, the only sound in the room. "I have a business proposition for you," he said finally. "I already told you, I don't want to be paid for helping with the family finances." "It's not that," he shook his head. "I want to offer you a position in the family company, as our chief financial officer." I blinked in surprise. "What?" "You have excellent financial instincts, Melanie. You've proven that beyond doubt these past months. The company needs someone with your specific expertise as we expand into new markets." "Is this a pity offer?" I asked suspiciously. "Because if so, I'm not interested." "This is a business decision," he replied firmly. "One I should have made years ago when you first earned your CPA. Your sister may have gone to Harvard, but you're the one with the financial acumen this company needs." I sat back processing his words. For the first time in my memory, my father was valuing my specific skills and talents rather than comparing me to Amanda. "I'll need to think about it," I said cautiously. "I've built my own career. I'm up for promotion at my firm. I'd want to make sure this is the right move professionally, not just familially." Something like respect flickered in my father's eyes. "Of course. Review the formal offer consult with your mentors, negotiate terms if needed. That's exactly the approach a good CFO would take." Our business discussion was interrupted by my mother knocking softly at the door. "Dinner's almost ready," she announced. "Melanie, would you help me finish setting the table?" In the kitchen, my mother was unusually subdued as she handed me plates to arrange on the dining table. Since the revelations about Amanda, she had been navigating her own journey of self-reflection, though with less visible progress than my father. "I found something I wanted to show you," she said, suddenly disappearing into her study and returning with a large photo album I had never seen before. "I've been going through our family photographs. She opened the album to reveal dozens of pictures of me throughout my childhood and teenage years. Me winning a spelling bee in 4th grade. Me at my high school graduation. Me in my cap and gown at college graduation. Pictures I didn't even know existed. "I don't understand," I said, confused. "Where did these come from?" "They were always there," my mother replied softly. "In various albums and boxes on memory cards. I realized I never made sure you knew we had them, that we kept them, that we saw you." I ran my finger over a photo of me at age 10, proudly holding a science fair certificate. "I didn't think you even came to this event." "I was there," she said, "in the back. I had to leave early for one of Amanda's things, but I was there. I saw you win." The mixture of emotions this revelation stirred was complex. Anger that she had left early, surprise that she had been there at all, hurt that I hadn't known, and something else, a tentative warmth at the knowledge that these moments had been preserved even if they hadn't been properly acknowledged at the time. "Your father and we made many mistakes," she continued. "The therapist says we created an unhealthy dynamic of the golden child and the scapegoat." She stumbled over the term, clearly uncomfortable with its implications. "We never meant to hurt you." "Impact matters more than intention, Mom," I said gently. "You and Dad may not have meant to make me feel less valued, but that was the impact of your choices." She nodded, tears forming in her eyes. Is there a way forward to build something better?" I thought about the question carefully. "I think so, but it has to be based on honest communication and real changes, not just temporary guilt or crisis management." "I'd like to try," she said simply. Before I could respond, the doorbell rang, announcing Jason's arrival for dinner. He entered the kitchen with his usual easy confidence, but there was a new maturity in his demeanor since the family crisis had erupted. "The prodigal daughter returns." He grinned, giving me a quick hug. "How's the family financial wizard today?" "Managing," I smiled back. "How's the real estate apprentice?" Since the crisis, Jason had begun taking his role in the family business more seriously, actually showing up for meetings and learning the operational side from our father. The shift in family dynamics had affected him too, forcing him to reconsider his role as the carefree baby of the family who never had to take responsibility. As we gathered at the dinner table, the empty chair where Amanda would normally sit was a tangible reminder of the journey our family was still navigating. But for the first time, the conversation included genuine questions about my work, my apartment search, and my recent weekend trip with Grace. My parents were making an effort, however imperfect, to see me as an individual with my own life worthy of interest. When the conversation turned to an upcoming charity event, my Aunt Patricia, who had joined us for dinner, made a pointed comment about Amanda's absence. "Such a shame about Amanda's situation," she said with barely disguised judgment. "I do hope she'll be presentable by the time of the Hendersons' annual gala. People are starting to talk." The old familiar tension descended on the table. In the past, my parents would have rushed to defend Amanda while ignoring the implicit criticism, or worse, agreed with Aunt Patricia while giving me sidelong glances suggesting I should be more like my sister. Instead, my father straightened in his chair and fixed Aunt Patricia with a stern look. "Amanda is getting the help she needs for a medical condition. We support her recovery process fully regardless of what people might say. And if you're concerned about the family's representation at social events," my mother added with unexpected firmness, "Melanie will be attending the gala with us. She's recently been offered the CFO position at Wilson Development." Aunt Patricia's eyebrows shot up in surprise, while I tried to mask my own shock at my mother's public declaration of my new role, which I hadn't even formally accepted yet. "Well," Aunt Patricia sniffed, clearly recalibrating her approach, "I suppose the financial acumen will be useful given the circumstances." "Melanie's financial expertise would be valuable under any circumstances," my father replied. "We're fortunate to have her skills in the family." The simple statement, delivered without qualification or comparison to Amanda, felt like a cool drink after years of thirst. It wasn't effusive praise or dramatic recognition, but the matter-of-fact acknowledgement of my worth was in many ways more meaningful. As dinner continued, I observed the subtle shifts in my family with cautious hope. We were far from healed, and the patterns of a lifetime wouldn't disappear overnight. Amanda still had a long road of recovery ahead. My parents were still learning how to relate to both their daughters with more equity and awareness. And I was still working on setting healthy boundaries while opening myself to the possibility of a new kind of family relationship. But for the first time, I could envision a future where I was valued for exactly who I was, not measured against an impossible standard or forgotten in my sister's shadow. It was a beginning tentative and fragile, but real. 6 months after the family earthquake of Amanda's gambling revelation, I stood in the entryway of my new apartment, surveying the space with satisfaction. The 2-bedroom condo in a renovated historic building downtown represented more than just a housing upgrade from my previous 1-bedroom. It was tangible evidence of my professional advancement and newfound independence. I had ultimately accepted the CFO position at Wilson Development, but on my own terms. I had negotiated a competitive salary based on market rates rather than family obligation, insisted on clear boundaries between personal and professional interactions, and established my own department with hiring authority. The transition hadn't been seamless with some of my father's longtime employees, initially skeptical of the boss's daughter, but my financial strategy for recovering from Amanda's gambling losses had earned me credibility. The sound of Grace's laugh drew me into the living room where she was helping arrange books on the built-in shelves. She had been my constant support through the family drama and subsequent transformation. "This place is perfect for you," she declared, stepping back to admire our work. "Especially this home office. No more working at your kitchen table." "I still can't believe I own it," I admitted. "No family help, no co-signers, just me." "You earned it," Grace said firmly, "through your own hard work and talent." The doorbell rang, signaling the arrival of Amanda. After completing her 90-day residential treatment program, she had moved into a modest apartment that she and Tyler could afford on their combined salaries without parental subsidy. Her gambling addiction recovery was progressing well with regular therapy sessions and Gamblers Anonymous meetings, though she acknowledged it would be a lifelong journey. "Your new place is beautiful," she said after I gave her the tour. There was a hint of wistful remembrance in her voice, no doubt comparing it to the luxury home she had briefly owned and lost, but no resentment. "You deserve this, Mel." We settled in the living room with coffee, the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. Amanda and I had been working on building a more authentic relationship, one based on mutual respect rather than competition or resentment. It wasn't always easy with decades of unhealthy patterns to overcome, but it was worthwhile. "How are things with Tyler?" I asked. Their wedding had been postponed indefinitely while Amanda focused on recovery and they rebuilt trust in their relationship. "Better," she said cautiously. "His parents are still adjusting to the situation, but Tyler himself has been incredibly supportive. We're talking about setting a new wedding date for next spring, something much smaller than what we originally planned." "That's good," I said sincerely. "I think the Tyler who stands by you through addiction recovery is showing more love than the one who was attracted to the perfect Harvard lawyer with the perfect life." Amanda nodded. "I'm learning that being truly seen, flaws and all, is worth more than being admired for a facade. It's terrifying, but also freeing." The self-awareness in her statement was one of many changes I'd observed in my sister since her life had imploded. Without the crushing weight of being the golden child maintaining perfection at all costs, she was discovering who she really was beneath the achievements and accolades. "Have you talked to Dad about the junior partnership?" I asked. After losing her high-pressure position at the prestigious law firm, where the gambling debts had led to whispered scandals, Amanda had accepted a position at a smaller firm specializing in family law. The work was less prestigious, but more personally meaningful, and the environment more supportive of her recovery. "We discussed it yesterday," she replied. "He was surprisingly understanding about my choice to stay at Brennan and Associates, rather than pursue a corporate position again. I think family therapy is actually helping him reconsider his definition of success. Our conversation was interrupted by another ring at the door. This time it was David, a college friend I had reconnected with recently. Our relationship was still new, developing slowly as I navigated the major changes in my family and career, but promising in its easy companionship and mutual respect. "Sorry I'm late," he apologized, setting down the dessert he'd brought for our small housewarming gathering. Traffic was brutal. As more guests arrived, including Jason and his new girlfriend Sarah, who seemed to be a positive influence on him, I found myself observing the gathered friends and family with a sense of peaceful satisfaction. This was my life built on my terms, filled with relationships that nourished rather than depleted me. My parents arrived last, bearing a simple but thoughtful housewarming gift of a painting by a local artist whose work I had admired at a gallery opening. It was exactly my taste, evidence that they were making an effort to see and know me as an individual. "The place looks wonderful, Melanie," my mother said, embracing me briefly. Our relationship remained the most tentative of my family connections, with years of maternal criticism not easily forgotten or forgiven. But she was trying, attending her own therapy sessions and working to understand how her emphasis on appearances and achievements had damaged both her daughters in different ways. "Your mother picked out the painting." My father added his own way of acknowledging their efforts to change the family dynamics. As the evening progressed, I noticed the natural way David integrated into conversations with my family and friends, his easy laugh and thoughtful questions creating connections. Unlike previous men I had dated, he seemed completely comfortable with who I was, neither intimidated by my professional success nor focused solely on my appearance. "Your family is not what I expected based on your stories," he commented quietly when we had a moment alone in the kitchen. "They're not who they were 6 months ago," I replied. "We're all changing, learning how to be more honest with each other and ourselves." Later, after the guests had departed and I was alone in my new home, I reflected on the journey that had brought me here. The painful revelation of my parents' gift disparity, the humiliating gym membership that had been the breaking point, Amanda's gambling addiction and subsequent fall from grace, and the slow, difficult process of rebuilding our family on healthier foundations. The gym membership card, never activated, still sat in my desk drawer as a reminder of where we had been. I had kept it not out of resentment, but as a touchstone, a measure of how far we had come. That moment of cruelty, intended or not, had been the catalyst for change that ultimately benefited our entire family. I thought about the different kinds of wealth I had gained and lost in this tumultuous year. Amanda had lost $1 million house but gained authentic self-knowledge. My parents had lost their illusions about their perfect daughter, but gained more honest relationships with both their children. I had lost the pain of constant comparison, but gained confidence in my inherent worth, separate from Amanda's shadow. As I prepared for bed in my new bedroom, I realized that true wealth had little to do with luxury homes or designer clothes or prestigious degrees. It resided in the ability to be seen and accepted for who you truly are, in the courage to face difficult truths about yourself and others, and in the resilience to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. The journey wasn't over. Our family would continue to navigate challenges, fall back into old patterns occasionally, and work to establish new, healthier ones. Amanda's recovery would have ups and downs. My parents would still struggle with their ingrained expectations and judgments, and I would continue learning how to accept love without suspicion and give it without resentment. But for now, in this moment, I was exactly where I needed to be, my life unfolding according to my own definition of success rather than anyone else's. And that realization, more than any material possession, felt like the greatest gift of all. Have you ever experienced favoritism in your family? How did it shape your relationships with siblings or parents? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments. If this story resonated with you, please hit like and subscribe to hear more reflections on family dynamics and personal growth. And remember, sometimes, life's most painful moments become the catalyst for our most important transformations. Thank you for listening to my journey, and I wish you healing in your own.